If you could go anywhere right now, where would you go? With the Great Lakes on our minds at the moment, maybe you're considering a Lake Michigan dune top in Empire, or a rocky Lake Superior Bay up in Marathon. Maybe some of us find ourselves wanting to feel that thrill of going someplace we've never been before, crossing over the Straits of Mackinac via the Mighty Mac Bridge for the first time, or having the Pigeon River Customs official warmly welcome us into a new country. That draw to go someplace new and unfamiliar, someplace further than you've ever been before, it's so addictive and so prevalent around these lakes. So let's get going. Hello and welcome, my freshwater friends, to episode 9 of the About the Water podcast, an exploration of high strangeness on and around the Great Lakes. Today, we'll brave the winter snow and travel to New Buffalo, Michigan, on the southeastern shores of Lake Michigan. It's here where we'll encounter someone who may have gone a bit farther than they should have, someone who needs to go back, as the sound of snowy tires and revving engines echo about the water. Episode 9, Going Back. Mark watched the apocalypse unfold through his windshield. The four-wheel drive on his SUV was struggling and straining to keep his vehicle pointed east on US 12 as he crossed the Indiana border into Michigan. There wasn't another soul in sight. Gale force winds had covered the highway signs with thick snow, making them illegible. Drifting snow made the lane lines invisible. "Yeah, it takes a real idiot to be out in this weather, doesn't it?" Mark admitted to himself. Relieved to make his way into downtown, he took in his rather eerie surroundings. The iconic ice cream shop, Oinks, was normally a flurry of patrons. The legendary burger joint, Redimax, would frequently see a line out the door in the busy season. But in the depths of winter, they were lifeless. Cardboard signs in windows reading, "See you in spring," served only as bitter reminders as to just how far away the warmer weather was. Mark turned onto Whitaker Street, the main road leading through the heart of downtown. It's a small two-lane road lined on both sides by upscale restaurants and boutiques. Mark was suddenly reminded of the positive aspect of life after tourists. "Look at that, plenty of parking," he said with a laugh. He pulled his vehicle into a snow-covered space directly in front of the popular restaurant that he managed, something he could never do during the busy season. Leaving the engine running, Mark did his best to quickly inspect the building, as was his bi-weekly custom during the off-season. The heat was low, but still on. No burst pipes, no signs of trespassers or pests. So with a quick call to the owner to assure him that everything was fine, Mark found himself done with his task and suddenly free for the afternoon. He was well aware that even more harsh weather was inbound from Chicago across the lake and would be arriving any minute now. So Mark did what any true Midwesterner would do. He went to the beach. The public beach was empty, as Mark expected. The park faced northwest, out towards Lake Michigan, and the southeasterly winds were punishing and quickly creating large drift piles in the parking lot. Knowing well the dangers of being alone and exposed during such weather, Mark of course decided to shut off his vehicle and step outside for a quick walk. He made his way along the beach, admiring the seemingly endless shelf ice, which always terrified him. The sand-covered snowy peaks are a notorious siren song along the Great Lakes. They beckon folks to climb out for a better look, and all the while those called never realize they're hundreds of feet past where the beach ended and the water began. After snapping a few pictures with his cell phone, he turned back towards the parking lot, thumbing his nose at all the dark lakefront homes that were closed up for the winter. Fairweather sissies, he chuckled. I swear if I had a place like that, I'd be there year-round. Stopping for a moment to fish for his keys, Mark then heard an unexpected noise. Cutting through the wind was the unmistakable sound of an engine revving, followed by the sound of spinning tires failing to gain traction on snow. Mark quickened his pace, fearful that someone might be trying to steal his car. Rounding a small dune, the parking lot came into view, and Mark found himself relieved to see his own vehicle still parked right where he had left it. Rolling his eyes, Mark couldn't help but laugh at what else he saw. A small two-door car, desperately trying to make its way across the parking lot and failing miserably to do so. Knowing that his tow strap was sitting in the back of his own vehicle, he decided to walk up to the coupe and knock on the passenger side window. Inside, there was a woman in a state of obvious distress. She screamed when she saw him. It's okay, Mark shouted through the closed window. You're hung up on the snow, but it's okay. I have a tow strap. I can pull you out. The woman in the driver's seat leapt out of the car and ran around it towards Mark. I know I shouldn't be here. I need to get back. She moved quickly past Mark and started running towards his vehicle. Yeah, I guess I can give you a ride, Mark offered, but I think we should get your car out. Looking back at her vehicle, Mark could tell that in a state of panic she had left it in drive. The front was angled upward, stuck on a mound of snow, and the front tires were still rotating slowly. As Mark took a second to assess the situation, he saw that the woman was now desperately yanking on the door handle of his SUV. Mark unlocked the vehicle with his key fob and assured her the door was now open. She hurriedly climbed inside, shouting at Mark and urging him to hurry up or toss her the keys. Dizzied in a fog of confusion, Mark took out his keys and tossed them to her. But as he neared his vehicle to ask that she switch to the passenger seat, the woman shut the driver's side door, started the car, and slammed on the gas. Wait, you can't just... Stop! Mark shouted, reaching into his coat pocket for his phone to call the police. As he did, he felt a firm grip on his arm. It spun him around 180 degrees, bringing Mark face to face with a very tall man wearing a full winter face mask. No, the man said calmly as he looked over the top of Mark towards the scene in front of him. She needs to go back home. She knew she shouldn't be out. How stupid, the man continued. Now, even more confused, Mark looked past the man to see several others standing next to what appeared to be black, unmarked police cars. The classic boxy look was unmistakable. Mark recognized them as Ford LTDs. Hey, I tried to help her, and now she's stealing my car! Mark watched as the man's unblinking, steel-blue eyes darted down towards his own. As they did, the man jerked Mark's arm and spun him around again. Mark could not believe what he saw. His car was parked right where he had left it, and the engine was off. The small coupe belonging to the woman was entirely gone. Your car is where you left it, stupid, the man said, reaching into the pocket of his solid black peacoat and removing Mark's car keys. You're just stupid. The whole thing could have been avoided. Stupid, he continued in an eerily robotic voice. Who are you? Mark asked. Don't be stupid. You know who we are, the man replied, motioning towards the unmarked car. We are the New Buffalo County Police, stupid. Well, where did she go? Mark replied. The man finally let go of his firm grip on Mark's arm, turning around and moving towards the passenger side of one of the black vehicles. She went back, stupid. How stupid, the man said, sitting down as another man closed the door for him. Mark watched as the three vehicles effortlessly glided across the snow and out of the parking lot, heading over a bridge and towards downtown. As he stood there, now knee-deep in snow and perplexity, Mark noticed a pair of headlights coming back over the bridge towards the lot. He clutched his keys tightly and started to make his way towards his car. As he went to open his door, he watched in disbelief as the same small coupe pulled into the lot, right up next to Mark. The driver rolled down the window. It was the exact same woman from moments ago. "Hey, I saw you just standing out here. Do you need any help?" she asked. Dumbfounded, Mark shouted at her with a rather colorful vocabulary, demanding that she explain what the heck was going on. Noticeably startled, the woman began to drive away, shouting her own profanity right back at Mark as she rolled up her window, condemning him for his lack of gratitude. Mark watched as her taillights disappeared over the bridge and out of sight. Nearing a state of confused panic, Mark climbed back into his car, started the engine, and searched his mobile phone for the number to the local police department. The officer on duty listened in silence as Mark recited the whole story. After finishing, a few additional silent moments passed before the officer offered an unenthusiastic and unamused sigh. He suggested that perhaps Mark had succumbed to hypothermia, or perhaps hypoxia from a leaking vehicle exhaust, or most likely that Mark was just pulling the officer's leg. Either way, the officer suggested that Mark stay put and await emergency services to come and get him, which Mark declined. The now frustrated officer sarcastically bid Mark good luck, and before hanging up, offered Mark the following information. Black peacoats were not part of a standard-issue police uniform. No officer would ever wear a full face mask while on duty, especially when confronting a civilian. And New Buffalo County Police was an illogical statement. New Buffalo is a city located in Berrien County. And finally, no nearby police units had used Ford LTDs as patrol vehicles in decades. As Mark disconnected the call, he stared blankly out of his windshield. He was beginning to think that maybe he should go to the hospital. Had he hallucinated the whole thing? With an exhale of determination, Mark pulled out his cell phone, activated the camera, and stepped out of his car. He took a series of photos, and indeed, there they were. 3 sets of tire tracks where the unmarked cars had been. Tire tracks leading up to the pile of snow where the coupe had gotten hung up. 2 different sizes of footprints leading up to his own car door, and several sets of footprints where the officers had stood, all of which had disappeared only minutes later beneath the harsh Michigan snow. When I met Mark in New Buffalo to discuss his experience, I have to admit that my first question after he told his story was, who were they? Immediately realizing the futility of asking that question in the first place, we both had a good laugh. And before I could ask my next follow-up question, Mark cut me off, knowing exactly what I was going to ask. Yes, he said he had in fact seen the woman several times since then. From what Mark could deduce, she seemed to work in New Buffalo at a small diner just a couple of blocks from the bridge which led to the park. He also recognized the car several times. It's a rare shade of maroon on an even more rare Buick Reatta. Mark explained that he had intended several times to stop her and take the risk of sounding like a complete lunatic in order to ask her about what might have happened that day, but he never did. Since then, Mark says he has not seen her for the past couple of spring-summer seasons. I suggested maybe she got a new car, or maybe she moved or got a new job. As Mark was showing me the previous photos that he took of the tire tracks and footsteps, he dropped his phone on the table and just buried his head in his hands. He replied to me saying, "Who knows? Maybe she went back too." And with that, thank you very, very sincerely for listening. Here's hoping you keep safe and that you always find your way back as you go about living out the story of your own life. And may it be as grand, beautiful, and enduring as our Great Lakes. I'll see you about the water.